Hey guys, Madison here, about to react to Season 1, Episode 3 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And first off, I would like to apologize for how I sound and the fact that I'm probably going to be like sniffing a lot throughout this episode. The seasonal allergies are hitting hard and they're wrecking me, so there's my little disclaimer before I get to your feedback from last week. And I want to thank you guys because there were a lot of comments on last week's episode. I can't get to them all, but I'm going to get to as many as I can. So let's kick things off with Lucas Ismail, who says, I would like to respond, if I may, to the first comment you were reading at the beginning of your video about Sam and his sister having financial issues. While it's true that in the comics Sam and the rest of the Avengers were well paid, I think this series is inserting a scenario caused by the post-blip where they are making a statement on real life in America. I kind of drew parallels to veterans still struggling financially after coming home from a war, and it also ties in with Bucky's PTSD. In episode 2, we see Sam and Bucky visiting Isaiah Bradley, who, even though he was given the super soldier serum from the government, was not treated fairly because of his skin color. Then we see Sam and Bucky stopped by the police who were profiling Sam. The show is clearly making a subtle commentary on social reality in America without hitting us on the head with it. Contrast that with the John Walker character who gets all the fanfare and adulation because he is a certain hero type that the media is programming the masses to admire. By the way, I'm with you. I still don't like Walker, even though it seemed like he started being sympathetic at the beginning. Yeah, Walker... See, like, I went in ready to hate him because, you know, they parade him out there as the fake Captain America at the end of episode 1. And so I went in all ready to hate him, and then they seemed to be playing the sympathetic angle at the beginning because he is obviously a decent dude. Like, he's the first person to get, like, 3 medals of honor and all this incredible stuff he's done. He's a great soldier. So, like I said last week, on paper, he's the perfect candidate, but there's something missing. Because even though he's such a great war hero, there does seem to be a lot of ego at play. His threat at the end of last episode felt quite ominous. But I'm going to touch more on Walker later because there's a couple more comments, I think, about him. But yeah, you make a good point because... You guys have to bear with me. I don't script any of this out at all. I wing everything, and so everything I say just comes off the top of my head. So I've noticed in the comments over the past couple of weeks, some people get mad at me for forgetting things or whatever, and that's a very good point that, you know, Sam not only, like, because I was just thinking about the blip too. Like, there is the whole blip scenario where he was gone for 5 years. And that explains the lack of income because he didn't exist, which they mentioned in the show. But what I didn't even think about before that was the events of Civil War, you know, that he was a fugitive on the run with Captain America. And so, like, of course he wouldn't have been getting paid during that time either because he's literally a criminal on the run from the government. So that's, how many years was that before Infinity War? Like 3, maybe? 2, 3? So it makes perfect sense why, especially Sam, I mean Wanda, anybody who was Team Cap would have that lack of income, even if everybody else was getting paid, which obviously nobody was, according to Sam, you know, nobody was getting paid. It was just purely a goodwill thing. So it does make perfect sense to me. I think I should say sometimes too, like, I'm playing devil's advocate because I just like discussing things from every angle. So it's not like I thought that was a problem or anything like that. Just putting that out there, like, that they weren't getting paid. At first, to me, I was like, what? It's a thing where it doesn't make sense to me. Like, how could people like the Avengers not be getting paid when they're doing such huge services to defend the world at large? But honestly, it does make sense because the government sucks. And they created the whole Sokovia Accords ordeal. And they were trying to control the Avengers. So anyway, outside of Tony paying them, it does make sense to me why they wouldn't get paid, because the government sucks. But all that aside, let's move on to the next comment because I'm just going to go on a tirade. Dim Bones says, I think so far the real antagonist is poor communication. Think about the episode from Walker's point of view. You're excited to go work alongside two Avengers who you see as fellow soldiers, brothers in arms, and no matter what olive branch you extend, jumping in on the fight, offering a ride, explaining you're not trying to replace Steve, getting Bucky released from jail, these two guys keep knocking it out of your hand. If that happened at work, I'd probably be a little ticked by the end too. Bucky and Sam are right to be mad, but I think they're taking it out on the wrong guy. It wasn't Walker's idea to name him Captain America. If that ends up making Walker an antagonist, it won't look good on them. Still plenty of time for Marvel to make the guy a control freak who can't take no for an answer. Anakin, if you're not with me, then you're my enemy. But I'm hoping we're not there. Like WandaVision, there are expectations for how John will turn out, but wouldn't it be nice if they earn each other's respect instead, and he willingly gives up the shield at the end? Is nobody else tired of seeing the government and the military being bad guys in Marvel yet? I was just trash talking the government. But that is a very good point, because if you look at this whole thing, like you said, from Walker's point of view, he's just trying to do the best job he can, and he's trying to take down the bad guys, and these two guys who worked with Captain America are basically slapping his hand away, like, we didn't ask for your help, we didn't ask for your involvement. So I completely agree with you. I think that communication is definitely the main antagonist so far, because Bucky and Sam aren't communicating well either. They had the whole therapy session last episode, and Bucky voiced his issue about, why did you not take the shield? That's something he's trying to understand and trying to deal with. Sam's got his own stuff going on, like his reasons why he didn't take the shield, but they're not communicating well about it yet, because I think it's still so raw and emotional for both of them, their connection to Cap and how things ended and what they're going to do going forward, and again, finding their own place in the world. I don't think that either of them are to the place where they can healthfully talk about it yet. And so I think you're completely right that poor communication is the real villain so far. Because like you said, they're not communicating with Walker either. Instead of cooperating and working together, which Walker was trying to do, even at the end, he was like, if we divide ourselves, we're not gonna achieve what we're setting out to do here. And they walked away from him. So I agree that I think it would be way more interesting and way more of a curveball if, instead of turning Walker into a straight up antagonist or villain, they do end up working together in some capacity, and he does willingly give up the shield. I think that would be really, really powerful. So completely agree with you there. Max Payne says, I really like that actor who plays fake Cap, Wyatt Russell. He was also great in the Black Mirror episode Playtest, and he looks so much like his father, Kurt. Same on-screen charisma. So when I saw this comment, my world was turned upside down. I was shook, because I did not realize that, first, that Wyatt Russell existed, second, that he was Kurt Russell's son. I had no idea who that guy was playing John Walker, and when I saw this comment, I was like, what? And I ran to Google, and I was like, that is so cool, because I really like Kurt Russell. And yeah, super, super cool that he's getting to play, fake Cap, but still Captain America. It's really, really cool that he is. And I read that he originally tried out for Captain America when Chris Evans got the role, so I thought that was a really interesting tidbit as well. But yeah, I think he's doing a great job so far. Frederick Mueller says, the head writer for the show said he wanted to create nuance, so you could literally sympathize with any angle because each of the main players sees themselves as the hero. Completely can see that. I have not read any interviews or anything about this show because I like to go in as spoiler free as possible. So I haven't seen that the head writer said that, but when I read this comment, I was like, yeah, I can totally see it, because we sympathize with Sam and Bucky and their goals and their motivations. I just talked about how you can also see Walker's point of view and how he's just trying to do the right thing, but these guys won't work with him. And then you can look at it from the Flag Smasher's point of view, and I want to get to that comment from Eternal Density, because I had not thought about it this way before, and I thought it was a really good point. Eternal Density said, I feel like the Flag Smashers are for one world, less government. Like, the power structures had fallen apart with half the people in the hierarchy missing, and people were doing a better job of looking out for one another. But now all the corrupt politicians and their cronies want to go back to business as usual with even more influence. You know what they say, never let a good crisis go to waste. And so I think this is a great point here, because there's also nothing that brings people together like a crisis. So I can imagine that in the wake of the blip, when like half the people disappear, that the people who were left would have obviously been grieving, would have been like, where do we go from here? What do we do? And they all would have banded together to try to figure out how to move forward after that tragedy occurred. There was probably way less government, way more self-governing instead. And now that everyone's back, there probably is this kind of global coalition forming where it's like, okay, let's get back to the way things were, but also let's exploit this crisis to exert even more control, which the Flag Smashers are obviously not for. So just like Frederick said in his comment, sympathizing with any angle, Carly sees herself as the hero, and a lot of people see her as the hero in the Robin Hood. So there's so many different angles to look at this from, and they're all extremely interesting so far. But before I get to my reaction here, I wanted to read one more comment from Kevin Lopez, who said, Isaiah Bradley, by the way, kind of spoiler alert for comic-y stuff, so if you want to skip this comment, go ahead. But he says, Isaiah Bradley was actually the first black Captain America in the comics, and his story was based on the Tuskegee experiments that the military did on black soldiers in real life. Isaiah was the only survivor out of 300 African Americans the military did experiments on when they were trying to recreate the super soldier serum in Project Rebirth after Steve went on ice. And I was very intrigued to see this comment, because actually the first thing that popped into my head when I watched last week's episode with Isaiah Bradley is I was like, oh, it's like the Tuskegee experiments, because like I said last week, I live in Alabama. I've been to Tuskegee, so that's something that's kind of already in my mind. And I immediately saw the parallels there with him and what happened to those people. So it's cool that in the comics they actually did tie that in, and that's actually where he came from in his story in the comics. So it seems like to some degree they're bringing that story over from the comics into the MCU. So I'm very interested to see where things go with Isaiah, because I dare say this is not the last we've seen of him. He's a super soldier too. It would be really cool if we got to see him in action. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think that would be super cool. And if we really get to see him and Sam sit down and talk about things and what's going on, and I could see him becoming a bit of a mentor figure for Sam, and I think that would be really interesting to see. So with that said, thank you guys again so much for all your comments, and I'm excited to jump into episode 3 here and find out what happens next, what's going to happen with Zemo. So without further ado, let's do this.
GRC, the Global Repatriation Council. Reset, restore, rebuild.
Oh boy.
Do you know who I am? Yes, I do, and I don't care.
Nah, man, we ain't gonna find him. You heard anything back from
Okay,
anybody? Falcon
like I
or
said,
Madison?
ego.
What kind of thing?
I'm gonna go on.
Why?
Because you're an Avenger. You know how he feels about that.
Look, it's not like you two are known for frolicking in the sun together.
He was obsessed with Hydra.
Oh, the Zemo theme. This is gonna be good.
Желание. Живой. Семнадцать.
You jerk.
Those days are over.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything.
What's the book you're reading?
'Cause I don't want to. 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 'Cause I
He already broke him out.
Machiavelli.
Of course. Gotta love a good prison breakout scene.
While the prisoners were being separated.
Whoa, 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 hey, what are you doing here?
I didn't want to tell you because I knew you wouldn't let this happen, okay?
What did you do?
We need him, Sam.
You're going back to prison.
If I may.
No!
He still refused to sign the Sokovia Accords. You backed him.
If we do this, you don't make a move without our permission.
Fair.
Yeah, we all know that's gonna happen.
Okay, Zemo. Where do we start?
This is gonna be great, I have a feeling. The Falcon, the Winter Soldier, and Baron Zemo go on a road trip.
Collected by...
There's the mask.
So all this time you've been rich?
Nice
Baron,
coat,
My family was royalty until your friends destroyed my country.
Baron.
Zdravo ti jesnik.
They just threw that in there, didn't they? You're gonna have quite the amount of resources at their disposal.
Чуже дувка зверства. Дайте волю.
I've seen that book. It was Steve's when he came out of the ice. I told him about Trouble Man. He wrote it, that book. Did you hear it? What'd you think?
I didn't know Bucky had the same book as Steve. I thought he had his own. Resettlement camp. Who is that? Whoa. This is so cool.
If we have to do something about this, I'm the only one who looks like a pimp.
Only in America will the assume a fashion-forward black man looks like a pimp.
Are they supposed to be there? Are they an escort or... Okay, I guess they're an escort. I love the like Tokyo vibe of this. Power broker is watching. Who is the power broker? Is that Sharon? Is Sharon in this episode?
Usual.
Smiling tiger. Your favorite.
Yuck. Ugh. I'll pass. Oh boy. Bar fight. Poor Bucky. Oh.
Sam, I'm sorry. Let me call you back.
Sam? Who's Sam? Kill them!
Oh boy.
This is not good.
It's like the tracking fob.
I can't run in these heels!
Oh, Sharon.
Well, this is too perfect. Drop it, Zemo.
You were Mr. America, Cap's best friend.
Uh-oh. She's kind of awful now.
Carly Morgenthau and at least 7 others.
She is so different now. That's kind of jarring. Oh my gosh.
Hey, guys.
This is sweat.
Here we go.
I can't get over how cool Zemo's coat is. I'm just a really big fan. Ooh. Ooh. Oh! What a boss.
Brought into Hydra's winters. When Hydra fell, I was recruited by the CIA. They had blood samples from an American test subject with semi-stable traces of serum in his system. The power broker was more than happy to fund the recreation of my work.
How many vials did you make?
20?
20.
Carly Morgenthau stole those.
You know, they could come help Sharon out. I mean, she's just a one-woman army out here.
No!
What did you do? Hey, gummit. Watch Zemo take it for himself. Don't want fire in a lab like that.
I thought we were gonna go left! You went the wrong way! I cleared the way! I came out first! You're supposed to follow me! And where are we now?
Got the time!
You did this barricade! It's in every action movie!
You actually gotta help him? Oh, man.
Dream of it.
I thought he was gonna ditch him.
Reunion?
Come back to the States with us.
I told you I can't. Just get me that part and you promised me.
Thanks for everything.
No, I want her to come with him.
You're not gonna move your seat up, are you? No.
Oh, I understood that reference.
I always thought I'd be a teacher, like Mama Donya. Maybe like history or art or something.
Professor Carly Morgenthau. Bit of a tough profession in Madripoor, though.
Lamar, if we get the job done, do you really think they're gonna sweat us on the how?
Donya
Oh, boy.
Madani. Maybe I made a mistake.
You did.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have put it in a museum. Maybe I should have destroyed it.
Look, that shield represents a lot of things to a lot of people, including me. World's upside down. We need a new cap, and it ain't gonna be Walker. So before you go and destroy it, I'm gonna take it from him myself.
I have a place we can go.
Zemo's just always gonna be like, I know a guy. Or, I have a place.
Put your seatbelt on. Now.
Dang. Well, that was quite a villainous move.
I heard what became
Carly?
of Sokovia.
What is going on here?
I was wondering when you were gonna show up.
Didn't go see more.
Oh. They're bringing Wakanda into this? I did not see that coming. Wow. So that was definitely, by far, my favorite episode so far. I just knew that a road trip with Bucky, Sam, and Zemo was going to be a blast, and it was, and I loved getting to see Sharon. I was wondering when she was going to come into the show, and I hope she comes back in soon. I hope maybe next episode, we'll see. I'd love to see her play a really big role in this show. And she was a boss. She was just kicking butt. She was amazing. I missed her. But it was really sad seeing how disillusioned she's become with everything since she was forced to go on the run for helping Cap. And it's sad because she really believed in him and what he was doing, but she's I think probably mainly disillusioned with the government who betrayed him. And I think with the Avengers as well, because she put everything on the line for them and then they weren't there to back her up and protect her when she was sent on the run and blacklisted. So I'm really excited to see where her arc takes her. I think her story will involve learning to believe again and learning to have hope instead of being quite so cynical, even if that cynicism is justified. Man, okay, so moral of the story, never trust the CIA. I figured that that's where they were going to go with this, was that the US government was involved with the creating the super soldier serum and dealing with whoever was making it, and we know now that that's the power broker and that doctor were involved in it. It makes perfect sense that the US government, like after Steve is gone, I don't know if he's still alive or not, but they would want to create more super soldiers and have probably an army of them is what they kind of wanted. Wow, there's just so much to process in this episode, and Isaiah was connected with that, so he's going to be brought back into this. I think Sam's probably going to want to go speak to him now that he knows more about this situation. And Carly took the super soldier serum from the doctor, but I think Zemo, when that explosion happened, I think he grabbed a vial for himself, honestly. I could be wrong, but I just don't trust him. He's helping them out for now, but I think that's going to change eventually. Because he wants to take down Carly and all the other flag smashers. And I have a feeling that Sam and Bucky, once they actually talk to Carly, might find a common ground because they all just want to help people, even though Carly is doing bad things and her, she's kind of ends justify the means. So I feel like Bucky and Sam might be able to find some common ground with her, but then Zemo's going to be unwilling to compromise, and then Sam and Bucky are going to be forced to choose between Carly and Zemo. And obviously, I think they're going to choose Carly, which will lead to Zemo becoming an antagonist for them again. Although right now, he's a very convenient ally. He's just got this private jet they can fly around on, and he has all this knowledge and all these resources. It's kind of funny that they just threw that in there, like his comic backstory and comic history, in just a couple of lines. They're like, oh, by the way, I was rich before you destroyed my country. Also... okay, Zemo in the club dancing, like, what? I was like, what is happening? It reminded me of Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker dancing in the club in Spider-Man 3, which sounds like an insult, but it's really not, because honestly, it's like, that was something stupid that we all made fun of back in the day. That's my dog barking, by the way. But in this, it was just funny and amazing, like... I can't believe they're gonna make me like Zemo. Like, I know he's not a good guy. Not a good guy at all. But he's one of those bad guys that I can just have a lot of fun watching and just really enjoy. Kind of like Loki. Although I think Loki deep down has a bit of a soft spot and a good heart deep down. And I don't know about Zemo. He's definitely capable of love and having attachments, of course, because he had a family that he lost and all that, but I don't know how deep that goodness goes and how much we're going to see of that, or if he's just going to prove to be totally selfish and totally out for himself. That remains to be seen. But boy, Walker at the beginning of this episode just full out ego mode, and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to turn out with the whole ordeal over the shield, and now Sam's regretting giving it up. He said something interesting about destroying the shield, and I have a bit of a hot take that I don't know how many people are going to agree with me, and I know this hot take is not going to happen, but I was thinking about how my personal preference when it comes to superheroes is I see, like, for example, let's say someone after Tony Stark becomes Iron Man, or someone, what's another example? Someone else becomes Hawkeye or whatever. I understand that happens a lot in the comics, like another character taking on the mantle of a previous character, like Sam becoming Captain America. And I also think that's the direction they're going with the Black Widow movie. Like, Yelena is going to become the Black Widow after Natasha Romanoff. But honestly, I prefer it when characters are just their own superhero and they don't take on the mantle of a former superhero. Like, I would never want anyone else to become Daredevil after Matt Murdock, or no one else needs to be the Punisher after Frank Castle. I think it's different when it's a character like Ghost Rider or the Sorcerer Supreme with Doctor Strange, because the Sorcerer Supreme is a title, and so it's passed down to each next Sorcerer Supreme. That makes sense. Ghost Rider is a spirit of vengeance that can pass from person to person. That's when it makes sense to me. But honestly, I don't think anyone else needs to be Captain America. I don't think there always has to be a Captain America. Like, for me, Steve Rogers is Captain America, and then when he passes on, that's it. Like, I don't think we need another Captain America. Most of you probably disagree with me on that, but I really like Sam as the Falcon. I always wanted him to just be the Falcon, because I don't think he has to step into the role that Steve had. I liked him just forging his own path and being his own thing. Just like I don't want Bucky to be Captain America either. Like, because I think Bucky took up the role for a while as well in the comics, and I would not, in this MCU, I would not want Bucky to become Captain America either, because he's still so trying to find himself, and he would never want to be in the public eye like that, carrying that kind of mantle when he's still trying to recover from everything that he did as the Winter Soldier. I wouldn't want Sam or Bucky to become Captain America, and I don't want John Walker to be Captain America. I would do what Sam said in this episode, honestly. I wouldn't destroy the shield. I would put it in a museum somewhere or whatever. But metaphorically, I would prefer that they just let Captain America be a symbol that people can always look up to and remember, but we don't have to always have a Captain America when there are so many other heroes out there who are protecting America and the world at large. There's Hulk, Falcon, Winter Soldier, there's Wanda, although Wanda's not really defending anything right now. She's kind of doing her own thing. But there's Doctor Strange, there's Hawkeye, there's so many other superheroes out in the world who are doing the kinds of things that Captain America did. I don't think there always has to be that. There always has to be Captain America, but let me know what you guys think about that. I know that that's the direction they're going, is that Sam's going to take up the mantle, or at least I assume. They could surprise me. But what do you guys think about that? Do you think there should always be a Captain America, or do you agree with me and think there doesn't always have to be a Captain America? I hope what I said made sense, because like some heroes passing down the mantle, again, like I said, like Sorcerer Supreme, Ghost Rider, that kind of thing makes sense to me. But other than that, I really prefer each unique superhero taking on their own identity, their own title, instead of feeling like they have to take on the mantle or the title of someone else. That's just me. But yeah, I really enjoyed this week's episode again. By far my favorite. Such a blast to watch. So intense. The fight scenes are so solid so far. The score is great. I'm loving the interactions between these characters, and I can't wait to see where we go next week. So be sure to drop your comments below. Let me know what you thought of this week's episode and what you think about the topic of Captain America, the mantle being passed down. Let me know what you think, and thanks for watching, as always, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!